Kick this sucker off. Okay, so our first major sponsor that we have is Project XGuard and Raul Chavez on Instagram. If you want to give him a follow at not at Choking Hazard Podcast, but give us a follow as well. But Choking Hazard Podcast as well as Project XGuard. He's working with at-risk youth in local communities, not just in Toronto and not just at Gringo BJJ, but he's also branching out to different areas of the GTA and also all over Ontario. So if you run an academy, or even if you just know somebody that you think could benefit from what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has done for many youth, not just in Canada, but all over the world, reach out to either us at the Choking Hazard Podcast Instagram page or Raul Chavez at Project XGuard. Once again, it's Project XGuard. Our second big sponsor that we have, and I think James Ann will like this because he was almost late for this podcast because it was 4:19, but really it's 4:20. It's SpiritLeaf in Waterdown, Waterdown, Ontario, Canada. Aaron, what is their address? And you need to get it right this time.
It's 64 Hamilton Street North.
So being specific, 64 Hamilton Street North. It's about 20 minutes outside of Peel region. So from Mississauga down to Waterdown, it's maybe about a 20-minute drive roughly, just to give you an idea where it is. Also, if you're in the Hamilton area, it's about maybe a 20-minute drive there. So it's actually a fairly central to both regions. So they have all your CBD needs, all your THC needs. They're also getting in a lot of new vape technology. So if you're not one of those big smokers, you don't want to, inhale all the carcinogenic properties that may or may not be in those pre-rolls, there are some vaping options. So it's a lot cleaner of a burn for you. But they also have a lot of chocolates, more chocolates than Willy Wonka's factory. They got more candy than the entire country of Switzerland up in here. So you're going to go down there. It's 64 Hamilton Street North, Aaron, North. We've gotten it wrong for 3 podcasts, apparently. So 64 Hamilton Street North, located in Waterdown, Ontario. Alex Tang and his team will hook you up with whatever you need there. You're allowed up to 30 grams you're allowed to purchase up to 30 grams to leave the store with. What you're going to do to get 10% off is you want to make sure that you're following the Choking Hazard Podcast page. And there's also a post that we have that has a promo code at CHPodcast10. So that's CHPodcast10. You're going to show that to the cashier when you check out, and you're going to get 10% off everything that you got there. So that is SpiritLeaf, Waterdown, Ontario, located at, Aaron, one more time.
That's 64 Hamilton Street North.
Waterdown, Ontario. Bam.
Good job, Mike. Good job.
All right.
All right, everybody. Here we are. We are Choking Hazard Podcast, and we are with James today. James, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody about yourself.
My name is James, and I've been training jiu-jitsu since 2008. Started in Newmarket under Chris Robinson and Gracie Humata. I was there for a while, and then a bunch of stuff happened, so that academy fell apart. Then I joined Caval for like a couple of years until I found myself at Gringo's, where I'm now, and currently training and representing the Cicero Costa team. All right.
Very nice. So how long have you been with the Gringo team?
Probably like 3 years now.
Very good. Yeah. And you're a black belt with them now, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. When did you get your black belt?
Like 2 years ago, I think.
Very nice.
2018. Yeah, December 2018.
Excellent. Very good. Like, have you started competing under black belt, or just kind of like not competing at ball anymore? Or
yeah, I started competing like right away when I got my black belt, basically, and then I did the Euros this year too before COVID went and everything shut down. I haven't competed since COVID though.
Gotcha.
It's kind of hard to do that. Like, we actually just interviewed Max Hansen, who just got silver at Pan Am's just recently, and he was telling me the process of competing, because he's flying down, he's taking time off, work, job, all that. But then once you compete, and then he's going through the process of coming back, where you have to isolate for 2 weeks. But then I also talked about my experience previously as well, where like I was away in March. And it's totally different now. So if you leave the country, you're coming back, you're expected to isolate for 14 days, but they're really like really strict. They're really checking on you. There's apps you have to download. So they're basically like, you know, they're tracking you, man. It's the government, man. They're tracking you.
I didn't want to deal with any of that.
There's a lot. I understand why they're strict, but at the same time, like it's if you want to leave the country and go compete, and let's say you work a full-time job, it's very difficult to go, okay, I'm going to leave for a week. And then when I come back, I can't go to work or do anything for 2 weeks. So basically I just took a 3-week vacation, and that's pretty much my year.
Yeah. And it's super expensive now too and everything. So yeah, it's not worth it.
No, for sure. So, especially like when we look at like training, have you had a chance to get like more training in since, I don't know, what are the restrictions in like Newmarket? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm training with like a very small group, like constantly, but it's like really small group. I haven't been to like the academy really or anything. So like just sticking with my small group right now at the moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get a lot of like my drills in with my girlfriend. So that's really good. She like trains a lot too and competes. So that's really good. Helps me get like my training in every day.
That's good.
I think it's really the best way of going about it right now is you have a small group of people you train with, and you stick with that for the time being, because that's the most manageable and like it's the lowest risk, highest reward, right? So versus just like, you know, spreading herpes everywhere with like hundreds of people. So it's, I think everybody's been doing some sort of combination of that, where it's just like you have a group of like, you know, 4 to 6 people, like kind of like what Max was saying. He's like, he has a group of like, he trains with his instructor regularly and like a couple others that they all kind of meet and they train together, and like that's their pod, I guess you can say. But you know, like the rules change every week, so you don't know, like, okay, like 1 week you're allowed pods, the next week you're training with a grappling dummy, and then the next week, so it's something else. But you know, since the situation's always evolving, you realistically, if you're working with the same people all the time, it makes things a lot easier, especially if you know who they are, where they're going, and all that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to keep track than having like constant random people just constantly rotating in that you never met before, seen in your life.
Yeah. I was listening to, I think it was Jiu-Jitsu X. They had a podcast on with Keenan, and he was talking about like the beginning of COVID, and then how he was like really concerned about it, and then how he's kind of reacting now. And he basically has like open door policy basically in San Diego. And I mean, like California itself is like on fire with COVID. I mean, like, what's your kind of opinion on that open gym concept in some of these states where these guys are just training like nothing's happening?
I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but America has always been known to like have more freedom to do kind of whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Freedom, guns,
COVID,
herpes, America.
Yeah, COVID's not going to stop anyone in America.
No, I believe that for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though, but I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion on it, I guess. Yeah, I wouldn't be training with a bunch of random people though that I've never met before, especially if they're just traveling, like, because he's a big name, so he's probably just getting people traveling from random places at times and stuff. So it's hard to tell.
And yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's especially like if you're going to get travelers coming in and there's a lot of people that you don't know, and I guess it all depends on what your real social circle is, right? I mean, if your social circle doesn't involve a certain amount of people, I guess you're fine, whatever, right? But if you're going to be like visiting a mom or a grandma or elderly people later on, like, yeah, it gets a little haywire.
Yeah, that open door policy can get pretty messy because then it's like hard to track who's been there too. So if something does happen, like God forbid, like it's hard to track back where it came from or anything. So you just forced to have to probably shut down everything for a while.
Yeah. Like how's like it been like on a mental standpoint for you? Because I know a lot of people have been like, hey, this is the place where I would train, like meeting up with friends, obviously at their clubs and all that kind of stuff, and having that open door concept. Like, how do you feel like mentally, like how you've been able to adjust to it, or just kind of being able to train with some people, it kind of helps out?
Yeah, just being able to train with people help a bit, but like it's been kind of weird because like a couple of months ago you're training with like everyone. Because when I did the Euros, it's just in January, and we're like in a room with like people all over the world just training like it's normal.
Mm.
And then literally a couple months later, the whole world shuts down. There's no flying. Everything's like gone crazy. So
it's so
like
weird how that. It's so weird how that happened. Like in January, you wouldn't think like, oh, like I'm gonna roll with, this random person I've never met before in my entire life. But like fast forward to now, somebody's like, hey man, you want to roll? And you're like, oh, ooh, I don't know about that.
Where'd you come from?
Where'd you come from? Start lysoling them down. Get away from me. You start lysoling. But yeah. Like, I don't know. It's weird how like this year is from like January to now, like things have changed so much. Like I was in Costa Rica one week, and then the next week it's like I get back and I'm driving around. There's 0 cars on the road. It's like basically Armageddon. I'm like, what the hell happened? Because I was because I was telling Max on the last podcast, the week that I was away on vacation was when things got like 180, like they got like really bad, where like you didn't know like what was happening. Like people are panic buying stuff and buying like 65 rolls of toilet paper, which I'm sure they're probably still using to this day, and then like I'm just hearing about all this stuff, and I'm in another country. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I get back, it feels like another day at the airport. But then like I'm driving around the following day just to see like, hey, like what's going on? I'm gonna go for a drive like around Toronto, and like it's 5:00 on a Tuesday, and I'm on the Gardner, and I'm the only car driving. It was like the weirdest, spookiest thing I guess you can really like feel, I think, at the time, where it's like, where is everybody? Like this is supposed to be like rush hour, and like the Gardner's supposed to be rammed. There's supposed to be like people like commuting, like trying to go home and everything, like millions of cars, and like there's nothing going on.
Yeah, and like the Euros is like in January, and there's like tons of people. Every country like had a bunch of people, and like the streets were filled with tourists and everything. And to think like 2 months later, like every street's like empty. There's like everyone's like back home and stuff. It's pretty nuts. It feels like The Walking Dead sometimes when you're walking down the street. It's like all empty.
That's how I felt driving around. I'm like, do I need a gun? Do I need like what's going on? But,
do I need tons of toilet paper?
Do I need tons of toilet paper? Maybe they're right. Maybe I should get some toilet paper. James, I want to ask you, because like you've been training a long time. You started in like 2008, but like how did you actually discover jiu-jitsu? Like how did you actually get into it initially?
Like what made me pick jiu-jitsu, or what made me like
what kind of got you like interested in jiu-jitsu and then like beginning to train and all that, like kind of rewinding back to like 2007, 2008? Because I know you've been training like almost as long as I've been, if not even a little bit longer.
Yeah, basically like most people, like watching the UFC, like just watching it and then seeing like jiu-jitsu and seeing how effective it was. And then I found out like one of my friends from high school trained jiu-jitsu, my buddy Connor, and then he got me into jiu-jitsu. He told me to sign up at the gym he signed up at, which happened to be Robinson's. And then just started training from there. But it all started just watching like a bunch of the old like Tito Ortiz fights and stuff, and like Royce Gracie and stuff like that back in the day. Just a bunch of old DVDs and stuff.
The good old Tito Ortiz days.
The early 2000s of grave digging and like
when he was still relevant.
He was still relevant. Now he's fighting like ex-professional wrestlers in like Mexico and all that.
And he's like some governor of California or something, like some
councilman
or something.
Yeah, he's a councilman now, so he actually won a seat. Yeah, I saw that.
He won a seat, I think, for the Republican Party in Huntington Beach.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So like he's actually, I think he's a councilman now, which is interesting. He's making his way up. He might be in Congress one day. He could actually be Congressman Tito Ortiz, and then like he's gonna pass a bill to start grave digging.
Tito for prez.
Tito Ortiz for president. So then you were training at Robinson's Karate, and that you started about 2008, and then like how long were you there for roughly, and like what was the training like there? I know we've met and we've trained there a bunch of times because we were affiliate schools at one point. And
I was there I had to be like 6-7 years. I was there for a while. I got my purple belt there, so I was there for like a bit. So probably like 6-7 years. Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time there.
6-7 years. And then like, how is the training there compared to like other places? Like, cause I know like in the Gracie curriculum's a lot more like, like, let's say like self-defense oriented and things like that. But like, what were some things that you kind of picked up and learned there?
It was, very self-defense, like orientated, a lot of basics, not a lot of inverting at all or any lapel play or anything like that. Like it's very like, close guard, keeping everything tight, passing like tight. Like he's very against like anything like modern jiu-jitsu wise. Like he didn't really like us doing anything spinning upside down or any of that.
What are kind of your thoughts on like the traditional like Gracie jiu-jitsu methods versus like the kind of like the more modern like lapel guard, inverted berimbolo, this and that? Like what are, because you've trained at like a lot of different schools by now, and I would say like Gringo's is a lot more like a competition based kind of like modern game. Like that's what he's teaching and showing, and a lot of like their students are learning and researching on their own as well. So what are your thoughts on like the two? Because it's like me, like personally, like they both, like you should know a bit of both. Like you should know self-defense, sure, especially if you're going to be a teacher. But then at the same time, like if you're going to compete, like, you need to know at the very least, if you're not using, a lot of modern game, jiu-jitsu, you need to know how to at least defend it or at least how to teach it as well.
Yeah. I find like Gracie jiu-jitsu especially is really good for like the beginning, like especially building your like foundation and stuff. The basics are really like strong in it because it's all based on like controlling the distance, not like giving a lot of space up, always advance in position to like positive positions where you don't get hit as much, which usually means mount or back. So I find it really good. But like as you get farther into competition, I find like it's good to learn like modern jiu-jitsu because even like blue belts now, or like even white belts are like inverting and playing lapel guards. So it's always good to be aware of that. You don't want to just go right in and all of a sudden be stuck and not know what's going on at all. And then like, especially for beginners, like I find Gracie jiu-jitsu really good because that's what everyone wants to get into for like self-defense. Usually they don't go in to learn to berimbolo like the first day.
So bro, I saw this thing on YouTube. Can you sign up? I need to sign up for class. Usually most people like walk into a gym, like they probably heard the Gracie name and all that. And a lot of people usually don't go, hey, I want to start competing in jiu-jitsu like day one. Like when people are walking into a gym, they've never trained a martial art. They're not like, hey man, I'm going to go to this tournament in a week. It's usually they come in, they want to like, hey, I want to get in shape, or, hey, I want to, learn how to defend myself. There's a lot of different reasons, but usually like competing not immediately is usually not one of them.
Yeah, it's not a big percentage that usually end up competing. Mostly it's like recreational, like do it for working out or for like want to learn how to defend themselves. So like that's when like Gracie jiu-jitsu is like really good. Yeah, it's a really good like, and it's like a really solid foundation for like martial arts, right? So like just stand up, controlling the distance, getting the takedown and everything. So it's like really good. Whereas like modern jiu-jitsu is like a lot more guard pulling, especially at the lower weight classes, which you probably would never do in a street fight, I hope.
Or can you?
Unless you're like Ryan Hall.
We're gonna fight to the death. I'm gonna pull out your jacket. You're gonna pull out a knife. I'm gonna win by an advantage.
Yeah, so like a lot of like modern jiu-jitsu schools now, I find like don't do a lot of takedowns. So that's when like a lot of the old school like jiu-jitsu is a lot better because like a lot of it's like closing distance. Even if it's like a simple body lock takedown, it's like really effective, especially like against someone that doesn't know how to defend takedowns or train. So that's good.
Did you feel that when you went from a school that was like more of the old school style to a more of a modern style, whereas like that first initial like, oh man, these guys are training completely different, where it's like I've been missing out on all this stuff, and like why weren't we training this kind of stuff, or was it just kind of like part of the growing process?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Like you definitely notice like the difference when you go to like especially a really like competition oriented school, because like the warm-ups and everything are a lot different. It's like a lot more high repetitions of like whatever technique you're good at and stuff, instead of like going in. Like I find a lot of like the Gracie curriculum, it's a lot of like chaining like one or two like scenarios. It's not like working on your specific game a lot every day. You're not like getting a chance to like drill whatever you're working on. It's every day you're going, it's like following the curriculum every day. So I find like the competition schools are like really more geared towards like making your game better instead of just like building like the overall class, like martial art, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Or like the overall, like the class that goes there, like they have like a specific like curriculum of like, these are the moves, like this is, you know, somebody grabs your wrist, you do that, versus like when you're going to more like a competition, like let's say a comp class, for example, or like a competition school, you're doing like, okay, like we're going to work on, for like James and some of you guys, like we're going to work on this certain pass, which would be good for you, or this certain sweep, which would be good for you. Is that
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Like okay.
Yeah,
so that's kind of like the main difference like between classes.
Yeah. And like the pace of like the sparring is usually a lot different. Like competition teams, like everything's like more like they don't give up position a lot. I find like sometimes when you're training, like at like my old gym, like people are okay with just like sitting back and just like for sweeps and stuff and like just falling back on position and stuff and being more playful with like positions, you know what I mean? And like competition schools are like everyone's counting like advantages and points in their head, so everything's like a lot more like fast paced and tight, and like the sparring is definitely a lot more different.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a benefit between either or do you kind of like you would need to have the mix of both worlds?
It's good to have the mix of both worlds, I find, like because you can't train like the heavy competition training every day, right? There's days where like your body just won't allow you to do it, especially if you want to train multiple times a day. It's good to like have those like more recreational classes you can go to that you can like ease and have good rolls instead of just having to work like and fight every round.
But no Pohana every day.
Yeah, that's a miss.
No, I think you're right though. I think this is what I found personally. Like, I think you need a mix of, you know, some like classes where you're drilling and moving around and flowing around. You need some. Plus, if you want to be like an active competitor, you have to train hard. You can't take like that flowing. I'm going to give up position here or there mentality. You can't do that in a tournament because like those little things where it's like, oh, I just gave up a sweep, that can cost you an entire match or a tournament or whatever you're doing.
Oh yeah, and like especially at the higher ranks, like everything comes down to like advantages and stuff. So you can't just sit back because like your balance is off a bit, and like you build those like small habits. Sometimes I find when you like just roll for fun and not like keep points and everything in your head, like, you just fall back, and then when a tournament's happening, like you build the habit of like, oh, I'm just gonna fall back and sweep them back, and then that guy's just gonna hold you down for the next 3 minutes, and there goes your money.
Yeah,
and there goes the money. So if you're comfortable with this, I'm going to ask you, like, take me through your transition. So it was about 2013, 2014. What was around the time where you left Robinson's karate or Gracie, is also known as Gracie, whom I taught Newmarket. What was around that time, and what were kind of the things that kind of led you to like, hey, you know what, I'm looking for a change and I want to go somewhere else and train?
Me personally,
like, you like your personal experience with like kind of like what was going on.
Like there's a bunch of stuff. It's like a snowball effect of stuff. Like Chris wasn't really there at all, so it's just mostly me and Kyle. Like you remember Kyle, who I used to train with all the time?
Yeah, Kyle, yes.
Yeah, it's basically like me and him just like doing like everything. Because at that point, Chad, who used to teach us all the time too, he moved to Peterborough, so he wasn't at the academy anymore. So it was basically just Chris, but he never really showed up at the academy. So it's just me and Kyle most of the time, and like it was. Like, yeah, it was a mess. Like a bunch of stuff.
Were you guys purple belts at the time, or?
Yeah, we were purple belts at the time. And then like you probably heard the crazy stories of like what happened with like everything with Chris. Like he got kicked out of the association at one point too.
He got kicked out of the Humite. Like, tell us kind of like your side of the story of like what happened. Just cause, like I'm aware of some things, but like you can kind of fill in like kind of like you're like your side of the story, like what you saw kind of happened.
Yeah, just like him not caring, like slowly not caring at all, like letting the whole program like slowly fall apart, like not showing up, and then like slowly hearing like rumors of like people not like getting paid for seminars and a bunch of stuff. And then I had like a couple like incidents with him with like pay where like it didn't come on time and stuff. And all just snowballed effect and a bunch of stuff. And then I left right before all that like Henner and stuff happened. So
That
I was
was the
glad
big.
I avoided that.
That was the big one I heard about. And this is kind of like my version of what I think happened. This is according to Henner, because I think he posted a video. So I think Chris Robinson brought him in for a seminar. At the Humaitá Newmarket. I think he taught like a 2-day. It was like an all weekend seminar. Went well. Everybody loved it. I think Henner, the Gracie Academy, like they're phenomenal instructors, especially if you want to like dive into more like the self-defense kind of part of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially. Like I think they're, I don't think you're going to find two better instructors than him and Huron. So he taught the seminar. I think he left. I think Chris Robinson gave him a check. He flew back to Torrance. He got home, went to cash the check bounced. And then I think he asked Chris for another check. I think Chris might have sent him another check. And then I think that one bounced. And then I think he just like ghosted from there. Like he just disappeared, didn't talk to him, like basically just pretty much brought in like a world-class instructor for a seminar, and then either didn't pay him because I don't know the reason specifically, but he's gave him a check. It didn't go through. And then I don't think to this day that he's received money for that seminar, unfortunately.
I don't either. Like, cause like a bunch of the employees there, like when I left too, like weren't getting paid and stuff. So I left like before the Henderson stuff. That happened like probably like half a year after I left. Like before that, I was hearing like a couple of rumors of like a bunch of like not no name, but like smaller name like karate guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to be like offensive to karate people.
Karate lives matter, James.
They don't listen to this podcast.
Karate lives matter, James. Karate lives. So you're saying some of the karate instructors there, because it was also like a dual stool.
Like some guys he brought from the States and stuff. Like I heard like I was hearing like a couple of them like came for like seminars and stuff, and they like didn't get paid and stuff, but I'd never heard of them. So that, like, or they'd never posted anything online for me to like really see. And then when it started happening to me and like my paychecks and stuff, I was like, oh, I need to get out of here. And then, I just got out before like it really went to crap.
Tuesday, like is Robinson's karate still around in some way, or is it just the schools? Like
no, he
down?
like literally he's missing right now. It's like crazy. Like he's like vanished out of nowhere. Like it's crazy.
I think it was also a big thing like recent, like I think maybe it was like last year where like he basically just disappeared. Like
he just got up and disappeared. He was supposed to open a gym at like a city beside like Bradford, which is not too far from Newmarket. Yeah. And then like out of nowhere he just disappeared. There was like a whole article and like everything in the news and everything. Like no one knows where he like went.
Nobody found him. Nothing. Like he just up and vanished.
Just up and vanished. It's like
I haven't heard anything either. Like it's unfortunate. But like he's pretty much just up and disappeared and like never been heard of since.
Yeah, like no one even his close family and friends like don't even know where he is. It's pretty like wild actually when you think about it.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah,
because I was like around that time, like I was working at another gym that's no longer around as well before I work at the gym that we do not speak of to this day. That Aaron knows. There's another gym, but there was a gym I worked at previously. It's called Premier Fitness, and they were kind of like Good Life back in like I would say like the early 2000s. Like they were like the biggest, I would say, gym franchise, at least in Ontario, if not the country. Like they were a big deal. Like everybody knows Good Life now. Like Premier Fitness was like the Good Life, like back in like maybe the early to mid 2000s. And
they had like a purple sign, right?
They had the purple sign.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
They were all over the GTA, and like they were a pretty big deal for a while. But then, kind of like similar to what you were saying, the business side of things, like because I was working there maybe about 2013, 2014. That's when I started there, and a lot of their business practices, like if people are listening to this and they are familiar with that gym, are very sketchy to say the least. So like in my experience, like I've had, like I've been paid late and like, this check's not coming, it's going to come next week. Or like, oh, here's my paycheck for the week. I put it in the account. And I'm like, It's like, yeah, your check bounced, man. They don't have any. There's like $2 in that account. What the fuck is this?
And all of a sudden, you got to pay some random fee because the check bounced and stuff. It's
and that happened to me too. There's actually a point where when I left that gym to start at the new location that we do not speak of with Aaron, who's right over there in that box. So when I started at that one, it took me 5 months to get what was owed to me. And what I did, they owed me like, I think over $3,000 at one point, but they were paying like, it was like a check. It was like 400, 300. I think I got a check for like $47.48. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, why can't you just give me they gave me like,
it's accumulation.
They gave me like 9 or 10 checks at one point. And then what I had to do was just because I went to the bank, and their banks kept switching too, because the bank account would get closed because they would bounce so many checks. So like the bank would like business-wise would want nothing to do with them. So I think I was at a CIBC one day, and then I was trying to cash one of the checks, and they're like, yeah, there's no money in the account. And I'm like, I don't know. And then one of the bank managers actually came out and was talking to me, and like, because I think they knew their business was kind of shady, to say the least. And they're like, you know what we'll do? Because usually it costs to certify a check. So basically what that means is once you certify a check, the funds are guaranteed to be there. So they can't like withdraw money or anything or pull like money out of an account. Like basically they have to pay you what is owed once the check is certified. He's like, I'll tell you what to do, because she was actually really nice and helped me out a lot. She's like, here's my personal cell number. Leave me the checks, and once there's money in the account, I'll certify the ones that I can, and I won't charge you for it. I'm like, wow, really? That's amazing. So it's like, just to get my, but that process took over like 4 or 5 months after I left there. Because I remember, I think I got my last check. I started in like 2016 in like January or February. I think I got the last bit of what was owed to me in like July or August of that year.
That's brutal.
So I don't know if like you got paid for, I don't know if you got everything that was owed to you at the time. No, you didn't. Now, were you getting paid via check or e-transfer or?
It was everything. It was like check, and then he'd say like he'd e-transfer or something, and like wrong email or whatever, and like it was like or wrong password, and like a bunch of them.
So
it sounds a little fishy. I mean, like even for like Mike's experience, that guy is, I think, like 99% sure he's in jail in the US, but I don't know. It's possible. But I mean, you run across people like that all the time. Unfortunately, in the martial arts business and the fitness industry, happens in every business. The automotive industry is the worst sometimes over that kind of stuff. But again,
they get a bad rep for it.
Well, tow trucking is the worst.
Aaron, do you have any stories of like either tow trucks or automotive places? Because you used to work in like a lot of automotive places like back in the day of sketchy business transactions, we'll say, because this is kind of a topic that we've got on now.
So like the place I used to work, Service Plus Car Center at the time. So basically the owner of the facility was basically dumping all the earned money into basically what it was is they had this like ATV like league. So it was like this racing league that they had, and they were part of it. And so they were dumping all the money into ATVs, trailers, all sorts of stuff, right? So any profits for the actual like business was making was all going towards these toys. So ATV parts, labor, going to shows, all that kind of stuff, right? So what was actually happening too on the side was that one of the mechanics and the owner were stealing trailers. So like, like trailers to like haul like snowmobiles and all that kind of stuff, like big boxed in trailers. They were actually going to different sites and stealing trailers. So what would happen is we'd pull up in the shop one day, like after a weekend, and basically there'd be like 2 new trailers in the yard, right? And we're like, whatever, like new trailers, right? You don't think, because we're always in and out, new cars, everything, right? We're fixing stuff, whatever, right? but we were never allowed to touch these trailers, right? They're like, don't touch these trailers, these are fine, right? So what would happen was, so you don't
do whatever you want, but don't put your balls on my drum set, Aaron.
Yeah, it's just like, and so like, step brother.
Gotta throw that in there. Did you take your nuts and put them on my drum set? What if I
did? So anyways, so what these guys would do, so like after the shop would close at like 6 o'clock, at like 6:15, these guys would pull the trailers into the shop, take the VIN numbers off, take the paint off, like strip these fuckers down, like take whatever's out in, like sell it, and then they would sell the trailers off, right? And so one day I'm at work, it's like, I don't know, it's like mid-December, so it's like cold and all that kind of stuff, and it's raining, and then OPP comes into the shop, right? First thing in the morning, like 8 o'clock, right? Banging on the door, like I'm just opening up the door. I'm like, hey, how's it going? I can help you. It's like, we have a warrant for that trailer over there. I'm like, no problem, right over there. Go for it, right? So I'm like, should I call my boss? She's like, you can do whatever you want. We're going to look at that trailer. I'm like, okay, I'll call him. So I call my boss. I'm like, hey, just so you know, OPP's here and they're searching the premises and the trailer. Like, put them on the phone right now. So I'm like, okay, sure. I hand the phone over. And he's like yelling at them through the line. And then he's like, the cop's literally looking at the phone. He's like, hands it back to me. He's like, I'm not talking to this guy. And he goes over the trailer. And I'm like, and then like the guy my boss is calling me. He's like, so what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to continue on with the other stuff. They're just going to go, you stop them from, I'm like, I ain't touching shit. I am not stopping them from going in there. You don't pay me. You pay me like $20 an hour. Go fuck yourself.
I'm not getting shot for your trailer.
Oh, exactly. Right. So
I can just picture Aaron at like 8 a.m. going, just like there's like a SWAT team outside with like a battering ram and a tank. It's like, police, open up. And Aaron's like just being all naive, like, oh, what's going on? I'm just gonna open it. What the fuck is going on?
Like, it was pretty cool, but I was just like, I guess we're getting shut down. I don't know.
Do I have a job tomorrow?
Yeah, because like my paychecks were getting like shady, like my paychecks were bouncing and all that kind of stuff. Like I got charged like $50 for NSF charge one time from the bank. I'm like, well, like how are you like that's what it is. I'm like, how is it $50? Like I got in huge arguments with the bank at one point over that. Like, okay, we're gonna let it go one time. And I was like, so eventually. So, anyways, going back to the whole thing. So the boss shows up eventually at the shop after like having to do this like quick drive from wherever he was over. He's yelling at the cops, and they just took the trailer anyways. And he's like, and then I found out because eventually he sold the business off because he declared bankruptcy and he sold it to somebody else. Basically stripped, like all this debt embedded, everything. It was bad, right? And I found out like 2 months later, after the business was sold, he got arrested for theft and all that kind of jazz. Like under a certain amount, but he was getting charged like with criminal charges and all that kind of stuff for the theft of the trailers and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh fuck! Like I knew something was up. Oh yeah,
you didn't realize something was up when like an OPP like police force showed up.
Oh no, that
like 30
I knew,
officers outside.
It was just like all the trailers. It was just like that was just weird, right? So we just had a feeling something was going on, but we're like,
whatever. Shut up! Don't ask questions. I make $20.
Why are we taking off the license plates?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So yeah,
chop up these parts and put them on eBay. Stat.
So that is the automotive industry back then. Now I'm sure it's a lot better because of like like cars in general itself are like. There's not so many. Like this was a repair shop too, right? And it was pretty shady. So I can't complain. It was my job at the time. It paid me for what I needed, whatever. So I'll just look at the better things that moved on in life. So
hey Aaron, is that where you got the 3 snowmobiles that are in your backyard?
I don't own any snowmobiles.
3 for 1 sale.
You don't. Sure.
No, for sure.
Let's get back on topic. That was a good, interesting little segue to where we're going now. So James, you left Robinson's. Needless to say, maybe there were some shady business practices, to say the least.
Yeah.
You went to Cavallo's for a bit. I believe it's Andrew Buckley's school. And then how did you end up now at Gringo's where you're at today?
Well, I joined Cavallo for a bit because my buddy Andrew Buckley was moving back from the States, and then he was looking to open an academy up like in Keswick. Well, not at Keswick at that moment, but somewhere like near Newmarket. So he was always looking to move back eventually. So when like Chris left and everything, he found like that was like a perfect time to kind of like try to fill that void. So he opened up a gym, and then he asked me if I wanted to help him instruct for a bit. So I moved, like I joined his team for a bit and taught there for a bit and like trained there for a bit. But it was like more of a family-based gym, like not like as competition orientated. Like it's like a good like small family group kind of training. It's like a really good group though. Yeah. And then I found Gringo's because I met my girlfriend. And then she like competed a lot. And then we started going like in the mornings here and there to Gringo's competition team training. And then we really liked like the vibe and how like Fernando was with everyone. And like, especially like the competition team, how much he like pushed everyone to like compete and like travel to do the big tournaments and stuff. And that like kind of lit like the drive for me to compete again. Cause around like purple belt, I fell off like competing for a bit. I was like one comp a year, like if like one or two a year. Wasn't really doing that many competitions. And then after when I went to Gringo's again, I started like doing a bunch of tournaments again.
Yeah, I think like when you were a blue belt, like me and you, like we competed a ton, like all over the place. And then purple, like you even said at like purple, you didn't really compete that much. And then I think once you joined Gringo's again, that kind of drive to get you to compete again, I think that started kicking in. And then I think like that's when you started doing a lot more tournaments from what I saw as well.
Yeah, I started competing a lot more, especially like going all over the place instead of just like doing a bunch of local ones. Like after joining Gringos, it made me like do a bunch of like IBJF tournaments and stuff, which is good. I started going around and it made me like want to compete a lot more again.
That's good. What were some of the highlights, like especially like at your, like brown and black belt career tournament wise? Like what were some big tournaments that you did?
The British Nationals I did. I went down. That was at black belt. I went down last year, and then got silver in my division and bronze in absolute. The Ontario
which is awesome because like for people that are listening to this, like you're like a light featherweight, correct? Yeah. So I think anybody at like featherweight or light featherweight that's placing an absolute that's like super impressive, no matter who you are.
And then the Ontario Open I got a gold in that, and then the Nogi Pans I got gold in Masters 1 too at black belt. And that's it so far. And then a bunch of like the opens at brown belt, like the New York and Boston. Got gold in at brown belt.
Okay. Oh, Aaron dropped his camera. It's pointed at his crotch.
I dropped my camera.
Camera's pointed at his crotch. I'm now my eyes are blind. I can't see. I can't see. Whatever. I'm blind. I can't see. Blinded by the gingerness of the nether region that Aaron has down there.
PTSD now.
PTSD.
Yeah, I know.
Never again.
That's okay.
It's the last place I want.
You'll be able to get some CBD products to help you out over there. Okay.
Where are they located again, Aaron?
So you're gonna have to drive out to 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, but you'll be able to get 10% off, so you can relax off all your PTSD issues from there.
My PTSD issues. Will it fix my blindness, or do I need to contact an optometrist?
No, not at all. It will not help with that, and we cannot give medical advice.
No, we cannot, unfortunately, but it may help to relieve some of the tension, so to speak. So 64 Hamilton Street North, Waterdown, Ontario, 20 minutes outside Peel region, 20 minutes from Hamilton.
They got the good stuff.
They got the good stuff.
So like, obviously, like when we're able to kind of get back to some form of like normality and all that kind of jazz, like what's kind of on the bucket list for whether it be a competition or is it like teaching? Is it like what's kind of like the future holds more for you?
For the future, hopefully have an academy. That's what I'm looking towards, like have an academy to teach every day. And then once COVID's over, be able to compete a lot more again. Like it's always fun being able to travel and compete, especially with like a team that likes to do it. It's always a good vibe to be able to do that. So hopefully that starts again soon, where I don't have to quarantine and go through a headache to compete.
Yeah, it's really hard to do that right now, honestly. Like you got to find it. I don't know. It's just not realistic. Like leaving for a week and then basically that 1 week turns into 3, especially like if you're working. Like it just doesn't. It just logistically it doesn't make sense. Like I know Max and some others did it at Pan Am's, but like I was talking to Janine like a long time ago, like on a previous podcast. She's just like, "Hey, I'd love to compete more. It's just like I can't leave for a week and then come back and then I'm away from my job for 3 weeks. I can't, and then I wouldn't have a job. It just doesn't make sense."
And then Canada doesn't look like we're going to have any tournaments anytime soon. So I have no idea what's going on with that.
I don't know either. I think honestly, like it's really hard to plan tournaments when like, I think realistically, let's just try to keep, academies open and training and having the restrictions like make sense versus like just a blanket. Hey, we're going to do this. But then the data says that. And you're like, okay, I think that's why I think a lot of people are having an issue with it. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Like the numbers say this, but you guys are saying this. Like, what's going on? I'm confused here. Like this isn't matching up.
Yeah. You can have 10 people at a gym and like 500 at Costco. It makes no sense.
On top of each other at Costco. I mean, I get it. People need to eat groceries to survive. I get it. But should you have 1,000 people on top of each other while doing it? Maybe not.
Yeah. No, I know. Like, because Mike and I were talking about it earlier. It's just like, again, a lot of places opened up, and some guys were like, "Okay, I'm going to open up academy," and then basically bought new places. And then so I was seeing like even in Toronto, there was like 3-4 new places that were going to pop up, and then all of a sudden restrictions hit again. And now we're in lockdown. I'm like, and I feel bad for business owners that were like, okay, I'm going to get a business started or like restart my business. And then now they can't even open up a door, can't even get a new member because they haven't even opened up yet. And then it's just sucking rent out of whatever funds they might have.
Yeah, it's really crazy situation right now. And it's always changing every day too. And it's like different region from region. So like some guy like couple like blocks literally down the street can have like be open and then you can't be open. It's like really messed up right now.
Yeah, that's one of our examples because in where our gym is located, it's on one side of Winston Churchill, so it's closed. Yeah. But if they went, 5 minutes into Oakville, they could technically be open in some fashion. But like like there's the zonings before, but like when it closed, it like that region was in red, so it's like real financially it didn't make sense for them to open, so they stay closed. Like Oakville was like you throw a rock into Oakville from where the gym is, and that area was like green or yellow, and their capacity issues and all that, like gym would be open, I think, no problem, which is weird because when you have a lot of these restrictions, like what do you think is going to happen? Oh, I can't go to the gym in Brampton or Mississauga. I'm going to drive to Oakville. I'm going to drive to Newmarket. I'm going to drive to Vaughan instead. So like people just, travel and migrate to other places.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes a whole mess right now. So it's like either across the board have the same rules or I don't know. It's like pretty crazy. And then you look at the states and everyone's training in Texas.
Why do you think Sanchi's opening a gym there? Because everything goes in Texas. Guns, freedom, America. We need to get some American sponsors on here. That'd be pretty hilarious. Just the amount of ad reads that I know Aaron is not impressed with from me. Like I could take it to a whole other level if I get some like
Texas barbecue.
Texas barbecue. Sponsored by Texas Barbecue Pit.
Well, I mean, like I have mixed feelings about that whole barbecue thing, especially the one that happened in Toronto. So it's just like I'm like, I get it, but you're also causing a panic and you're causing all these issues, and it's like I get that too. But I'm like, and again, the thing that pisses me off more than anything is like how many cops were there and had their attention focused on that bullshit compared to like all this other stuff that they could be dealing with. Like that's what
like anything else besides that.
Like that's what fucking infuriated me, because I'm just like, we have like the city itself, right? And it's not just Toronto. I mean, like, just there's so many issues with, like, whether it's youth displacements, again, gang issues, whatever, gun violence, drugs, whatever, right? And we have fucking, from the picture I saw, like 70 police officers fucking surrounding a barbecue joint in Etobicoke. Like what the fuck is going on? Like,
a convenience store up here. A convenience store up here got robbed a couple days ago by gunpoint. I saw like 2 cop cars, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like,
I will say, maybe in their defense, is if there's a crowd, do you just send, hey, there's this big crowd down at this barbecue pit. Should we just send 1 police car? That might not be a good idea either, because oh my God, they're getting pelted with ribs. What's going on? They're throwing ribs. The barbecue
Those burnt
sauce,
ends
like,
hurt.
it's like, I got hit. Officer down. I got hit with a rib. It's delicious. Now, with that said, like, I don't know. I get the whole resource allocation thing, especially at a time like this where there's very limited resources. Do you need to send 100 police officers to surround a barbecue joint? Probably not. Should you just send 1 squad car and see what happens? That might not be a good idea either. I think there might have been a better solution to what was going on than I think what happened. I think is what we're all getting to. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. Got that guy some good press though.
Oh, he's going to be making a killing at all those other places. Yeah. Speaking of other places, this is one of the common questions we've asked that I'm going to dust it off because we haven't asked it in a while. So there's some common questions I like to ask people. So you have some experience with, the Gracie Who Might Talk curriculum and kind of like the Gringo sports jiu-jitsu curriculum. So I got to ask you, will a berimbolo work in a street fight?
It depends on the situation.
Give me a situation where it would work, and give me a situation where maybe not a good idea.
Anytime there's a group of people, it's probably not the best idea. But I saw John Wick disarm a guy with a sort of berimbolo maneuver in the movie.
It's a movie.
Which one?
It was like the first one, I think, where he like jumped at the guy with like some scissor like thing with his legs, and then.
Oh, that was like the scissor takedown that he did. And then he like
scissor takedown.
Yeah, I was like in a crowd of people. I couldn't tell.
That was like a Gary Tonin-esque scissor takedown that he pulled off, which was actually pretty cool. And he's done a lot of like high level jiu-jitsu training for those movies too. So Keanu Reeves is a badass. He's done like weapons training and all. He's a badass.
Yeah, I wouldn't try a berimbolo in a street fight though.
Yeah, so you're sensible. Some of our other guests, Matthew Isaacs,
and Darson too.
Hey, Darson said he would grab the lapel or other areas of a man's nether region if needed to get a grip. Which, hey, I salute him for, but I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. Personally, I like to manage distance. Maybe de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, that's always the best idea. Run away.
Especially if there's multiple attackers. So it's like, it's not the movies like where John Wick can like kill 700 people in a movie. But like if I'm getting attacked by 10 people and I'm a black belt, my best defense is get the hell out of there. It's mine. And this is one more question I like to ask that I'm going to ask you to wrap up. We're going to do a quick kill, fuck, marry. It's going to be Hamilton, Brampton, and Newmarket. You have to kill one, fuck one, and marry one.
What were the options again?
You have to kill, fuck, marry one of the 3 cities: Brampton, Hamilton, or Newmarket.
I'd definitely probably kill Brampton because I grew up there.
Me too. Where did you grow up in Brampton? I thought you lived in Newmarket your whole life.
I moved in like after like the first year of high school to Newmarket.
Okay,
smart man.
Smart move. Your parents were very, very smart. They saw the writing on the wall very early. Where did you grow up in Brampton? I didn't know.
Bicentennial High School.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Good call. Move
yeah.
that. Oh,
Not the
jeez.
best area.
No. Shout out Centennial. Shout out Brampton Centennial.
What was the other
kill-
one? Kill and what?
You killed Brampton. Everybody kills Brampton. I would kill Brampton. You got to marry one and F one.
I guess marry Newmarket because it's a bit more uppity class.
It's a city you would take home to meet your parents.
Yeah, and then Hamilton's just a hammer, so it's already trash. So just get rid of it after you fuck it, I guess.
There you go. I love it. All right, James.
I think we're gonna end on that.
James, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out to, sponsors you want to shout out before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank everyone I train with on the daily. Thank Gringo for everything he does, for the team and stuff. Thank all my training partners. Thank my girlfriend for putting up with all my shit all the time, especially when we're competing.
Well, you definitely need the support for sure.
Yeah, especially when we're both cutting weight. It's always good to have that. Her cutting weight more, me just kind of eating whatever.
which I'm sure she's thrilled about at the time.
Yeah, so it makes both of us not have to deal with that. But yeah, all my training partners that help me get better every day, and basically that's it.
Awesome. Okay,
yeah. And thanks to you guys for the opportunity. Sorry.
No, absolutely. We want to have you back on again for sure. Hopefully, when this whole mess is over, we can get some training in and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good.
Just trying to promote, honestly, some local talent because you know what? There's a lot of good jiu-jitsu here and a lot of good guys and girls here that are, they're at that world-class level. It's just nobody's really heard of them.
Yeah. And getting the opportunities to compete too. Some of them don't have the opportunity to go to the States all the time and stuff, but you see them beat a lot of the guys that come here and stuff. So it's we got a lot of good talent here now.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to start pumping them up and then get them platforms and build off that. So it would be you're part of it, right? So we just got to help everybody get going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Thank you. SpiritLeaf Waterdown. 64 minutes.